everyone, welcome to this video. Hopefully you all have had a good weekend, and I'm going to give you all a little bit of an update on how the next couple of videos are going to go. This video is going to be purely wrestling centric. It's going to be about NXT and a little bit about Jon Moxley and the Wade Keller interview and my top 10 matches for the month of May 2019. And the next video that I do, which I'm going to film right after I'm done here, literally right after I hit the off button on filming this video, I'm going to film a massive movie/TV show review video. Obviously, you know what the major topic of the video is going to be. Yeah, I'm going to film that right after I'm done filming this. This video will post later tonight, and this other one that I'm filming will post most likely sometime tomorrow night. That's the plan anyway. We'll see how it goes. So you're going to get a wrestling video from me and a very non-wrestling centric video from me. And, yeah, I don't know how long the movie review one is going to go. It's probably going to be super, super long, but, just so be warned. But, let's get into the wrestling talk. First of all, before I jump into anything, I do want to do my top 10 matches for the month of May, so let's just blast right through that. Okay. Number 10, Hangman Page versus Pac from WrestleGate Pro on May 18th. This was the match we were supposed to get at Double or Nothing. And I'm still pissed off that we didn't get it, but at least we got it in some capacity, and All Elite Wrestling did post the match on their YouTube channel, so if you want to watch it, I'll post a link in the description. Good match, perfectly solid match. It's still a little bittersweet watching it, because it's like, man, we should have gotten this at Double or Nothing, but it's a shame that didn't happen. Thanks a lot, Pac, if the rumors are to be believed, but for why the match got canceled, but yeah, it's an enjoyable match, and I'm glad we got it in at least some capacity. Number 9, Kushida versus Kona Reeves from the May 15th episode of NXT. This was Kushida's in-ring debut for NXT, and I thought it went very well, showcased him really well, and it was just a really solid introductory match for Kushida, and hopefully he turns out to be a big part of the NXT brand moving forward, and he's able to have some of those exciting matches that he's known for having. So I thought this was a very good start for him, though. Number 8, Rich Swann versus Michael Elgin from the May 17th episode of Impact Wrestling. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this was Michael Elgin's in-ring debut for Impact Wrestling, and I thought it went really well. I thought it was an excellent match between him and Rich. Elgin getting the win. I would have probably had him, if it were up to me, I probably would have given him a dominant win, but if he's going to have like a back-and-forth, like epic, 50-50 type of match, I thought this was a really good one to have, and I like the clash of styles between Rich Swann and Michael Elgin, so overall it was a really enjoyable match. Number 7, Naomi versus Bayley versus Ember Moon versus Mandy Rhodes versus Nikki Cross versus Carnella versus Natalya versus Dana Brooke, the Money in the Bank ladder match, the women's part from Money in the Bank 2019. Solid multi-person ladder match. Really all there is to say about it. Had major storyline implications for later in the show when Bayley made her cash in. And that's what the Money in the Bank ladder match is. That's really what it's all about. It's just about people going out there doing spots, and then whoever wins the Money in the Bank, it has major storyline implications moving forward. So, enjoyable for the multi-man, or multi-woman, I guess I should say, car wreck that these type of matches deliver. Number 6, SoCal Uncensored versus the Strong Hearts from AEW Double or Nothing. This was the opening match to the actual card of Double or Nothing, not counting the pre-show matches. And hell of a way to start. Just a very nice, athletic, action-packed match with some fresh talents, and we got to see SCU again. We haven't seen them since they signed with AEW, so it was nice kind of like return to glory for them. And right way to start off a show. Nice, hot, action-packed match. No major storyline involved, just a good, hot way to open up the show. And I thought it was really successful at doing what it was supposed to do. Number 5, Baron Corbin versus Finn Balor versus Ricochet versus Andrade versus Ali versus Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton, in parentheses, versus Brock Lesnar. Money in the Bank ladder match for Money in the Bank 2019. As far as like car wreck Money in the Bank ladder matches go, I thought that this was a bit more intense and a lot more crazy than usual, and was memorable with all the crazy stuff that was happening. I guess you could say the ending kind of ruins it, where Lesnar just goes out there and wins, even though he was never an active participant. But I guess in another way, that actually made it memorable too. So This is a Money in the Bank ladder match that I might actually remember in 5 years. So for that, I'll give it a lot of credit, and I thought it was an exciting end to the show, if nothing else, even though I'm sure people lost their minds over Lesnar stealing the briefcase. But overall, I thought it was an enjoyable match. Number 4, the Young Bucks versus the Lucha Brothers for the AAA Tag Team titles from AEW Double or Nothing. It got a little too spot-festy at points, and some of the kickouts were a little silly, but overall, it was a very action-packed, crazy match that you would expect out of these 4 guys. And all 4 guys got to just leave it out there and put on a hell of a show. So, very enjoyable match. Not, this type of match isn't always my cup of tea, but I think on a show like this, after you had, like, the really emotional match between Cody and Dustin, something like this, I think, helped it set it apart from everything else that was on the show. So, overall, I thought it was very good. Number 3, Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho. Winner gets into the first ever AEW title match from AEW Double or Nothing. Not as good as the match they had at Wrestle Kingdom, but I thought a very strong sequel and an excellent main event to AEW's first pay-per-view. It got them off on the, because with pay-per-views, you really want to end on a high note, and this match did that. It's like, all right, you ended with a great match, and then the huge surprise of Jon Moxley coming down and attacking both men, painting him as kind of this warped psychopath that's going to just tear AEW to shreds. And everybody's got to look out, both heels and faces. So he seems motivated and rejuvenated, and him coming out at the end was an excellent end to the show. And a nice capstone to what was a very good match. So, great stuff all around. No complaints here. Number 2, Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles for the WWE Universal title from WWE Money in the Bank 2019. This is a match I think a lot of us have wanted to see. Just a very well-worked match between 2 guys that are, A-class talents. That's really all there is to say about it. There wasn't, a huge storyline involved, and both guys are faces, so it's not like there was a lot of heat going into it necessarily. But if you just want to watch pure wrestling, I thought these 2 guys had an excellent match with some great counters, great action, and Seth getting the win. So overall, very enjoyable stuff, and I liked it. But my number 1 match of the month, and what is probably going to be my match of the year, Cody versus Dustin Rhodes at AEW Double or Nothing, was the most emotional match I have seen in a dog's age, probably since Bayley and Sasha at that one takeover. And the ending had me on the verge of tears. Not only was the match they had excellent, not only did they tell an amazing story, but it was just so satisfying to see the 2 guys have the match that they've always wanted to have on this stage and show everybody what they were capable of doing with each other. It was an excellent display. It was an emotional display. It was everything you could possibly want out of pro wrestling, and I tip my hat to both guys. I would argue it's probably the best performance of both men's careers, and that's saying a lot, because there's a lot of Cody matches I've really liked, and Dustin's been around for a long time and is a hell of a worker in his own right. So for both of them to go out there and perform the way they did, I think that is pretty amazing on both of their parts. So that is that. So let's jump into Jon Moxley. I did a video about his appearance on the Chris Jericho podcast and the major headlines that made and how shocking that was, and how it's kind of like the new version of the CM Punk on Colt Cabana's podcast. That whole thing where he basically pointed out the flaws in the WWE that we've always suspected was there and we always kind of knew was there. And to hear somebody who was actually backstage, who was actually behind the scenes confirming a lot of this stuff, was really shocking. And I didn't expect such a quick follow-up from Jon Moxley, where he appeared with Wade Keller and got interviewed by him. And it's like, well, what the hell more? What more can he possibly say? And I haven't listened to part 2 of the podcast yet. What I will say about part 1 is I don't think it's quite as interesting as the Jericho podcast, but he did say a lot of things that I was like, yeah, these are things I've been saying for years. Like, Raw is too long. It's like, 3 hours. It's way too much content to fill. And they repeat themselves way too often by just doing the same matches over and over and over again. And he even referenced, I think he referenced his feud with Bray Wyatt, where he's like, why don't we have a match, and then you give us the next week off, and then you give somebody else a turn, like Tyler Breeze or something like that. And I fully agree with that, because the problem is that a lot of these guys get way too much TV time, and they get oversaturated, and then you have guys that don't get enough TV time, so they don't evolve, they don't grow, they don't develop, and they don't get over with the audience. So it's kind of like they're handling their talents in the worst way. Their top talents are being overexposed to the nth degree, and it conditions fans to not care as much because they see them all the time. And then you have all these other guys that the fans never see, so they don't care about them. And it's not like they're part-time stars like Brock Lesnar or The Rock or The Undertaker or anything like that, where they're already over. Guys like Apollo Crews, we've been kind of conditioned to kind of not think of him as anything that special because of how they present him and how they barely do anything with him. And, the way they manage talent is just terrible, and it was so great. It's so satisfying to hear somebody who was actually backstage in the WWE and somebody who was actually a talent in the WWE system talk about all this stuff that I've been saying for years. And I knew it was all true. And because it was just obvious. You can tell just from watching the show that it's like, fans get burnt out on these guys when they see them all the time. Certain guys don't get the chance, and therefore they don't get over, and then they just end up not mattering. Or in Tyler Breeze's case, they wind up getting sent back to NXT, because what the fuck? You've done nothing with them on the main roster, so why do you even bring them up to from NXT in the first place? And, one thing that really stood with me when he said that if Stone Cold Steve Austin was coming into the WWE system today in 2019, you would never get Austin 316. And I think that is absolutely true. Absolutely fucking true. Because they don't let the guys be themselves. They don't let them come up with their own stuff. Everything stops and goes with Vince. And it sounds like the writers are simply writing to appease Vince and make him happy rather than actually trying to make a good show. And I've been talking about the promos for years. Like, you cannot script a promo word for word and expect these guys to deliver it perfectly. These guys are not trained actors. Some guys can do it. Some guys have a natural inclination to be actors. I think Miz can probably do it. But most of the guys are not going to know how to do it. You're not going to find... These guys are not going to find their voice, most of them, unless you let them come up with their own shit. You're not going to find a Jake Roberts. You're not going to find a Roddy Piper. You're not going to find a Ted DiBiase. You're not going to find a Randy Savage or anybody like that, or even an Ultimate Warrior, unless you give them freedom over their character and let them find their own voice. And it's so satisfying to hear Jon Moxley say that, and it's stuff that I've suspected for years. Even with Dean Ambrose, this goof that they had him play most of the time, I was like, that can't be what he wants to be. It can't be. It's because I always suspected that Dean had a much different idea of how his character is supposed to go, as opposed to how WWE presents his character, and it's nice to hear him actually admit that. A very interesting interview, and I'm definitely going to listen to part 2 at some point. I haven't gotten around to it yet, but overall, once again, very good stuff for Jon Moxley, and it just keeps the hype train going for AEW that they've got this rebellious guy that's saying that the WWE look, their system just doesn't work now in 2019, and now he's like rejuvenated and happy again in AEW, and there's a lot of possibilities there. And again, I've already put over AEW for, look at the Battle Royal they had, where it's like, basically that whole thing at AEW on the pre-show at Double or Nothing was, all right, let's see who stands out. And it was like, let's just let these guys go out there and let's see who's able to like make the most out of their moment. And it's like, Joey Janela kind of stood out a little bit. I thought MJF obviously stood out like no business. I thought Luchasaurus came off really well. And, it seems like AEW is willing to let guys kind of get themselves over and sink or swim. It's like, look, you can go out there, come up with something, and you could fall flat on your face. But I'd rather the guys be allowed to try and come up with their own stuff and, fail, than to just be told what to do word for word every single time, and you just get this robotic, formulaic, factory-assembled show that you have right now in the WWE. That just feels like it has no soul. It's just everything they do is just factory-assembled and just dull to watch. And hopefully AEW provides that alternative where the guys feel like they're speaking from the heart, and it actually feels normal and natural. So, very good interview from Jon Moxley, and I can't wait to hear the rest of it. So, good stuff there. So, with all of that said, let's review NXT TakeOver 25. And it's kind of amazing that they've hit that milestone. It feels like just yesterday I watched the first TakeOver, and now they've had the 25th one. It's like, man, that is crazy. Now, it doesn't feel like there's been that much storyline development since WrestleMania, so this is not a TakeOver special that I was super, super hyped for. It just kind of felt like one of the ones where it's like, all right, we're doing it because it's that time in the schedule to do it, and not one that just feels like I've been chomping at the bits to see a particular match or anything like that. And I had already made plans for Saturday, so I didn't actually watch it live. I actually just got done watching it about an hour before I started filming this. So what did I think of the show? I thought, overall, I thought it was very good. I really enjoyed it, probably better than the last couple takeovers I've seen. Action was through the roof for the most part. I thought it was a very exciting show from start to finish, and overall, once again, it's another takeover that I really enjoyed. I mean, I haven't seen a bad one yet from TakeOver. At 25, and there hasn't been a bad one, so that's pretty amazing, I think. But anyway, let's go over the matches. First up, we had Matt Riddle versus Roderick Strong. Overall, good match. Very solid basic showcase for Matt Riddle and his abilities. I've said before, I think Matt Riddle's a star. Just waiting to happen, waiting to break out. There's so many intangibles to him. The way he carries himself, his natural charisma, his body language, his in-ring style is different from a lot of guys. He's got some natural credibility to him, and he seems to have a personality that's gotten over with the crowd. So I thought this match showcased Matt Riddle very well, and considering he lost at the last TakeOver, I think it was good to give him a win here. And overall, I thought him and Roddy had a good, solid match. Nothing special, nothing great, but as an opening match, it was perfectly solid and showcased Matt Riddle's star quality. So thumbs up from me. I thought it was good. Next up, we had the 4-way ladder match for the vacant NXT Tag Team Championships. We had Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, the Undisputed Era, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, better known as Red Dragon, at least to me anyway. And the Forgotten Sons, Wesley Blake and Steve Cutler, with Gunner as their backup, the former Gunner. What's Gunner's name? I keep forgetting. To me, he'll always be Gunner fucking Gunner, but I'll admit he's probably more interesting in NXT than he was in TNA. But and I don't know if I mentioned the Street Profits, Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford. I should mention them because they won the match. Again, it's the same thing I always say about multi-man ladder matches. They're all kind of the same to me for the most part. They're exciting and they're good for what they are, and they provide a car wreck, but a multi-person ladder match is not going to save a bad show for me. So if the show was completely terrible and their redeeming quality was just that ladder match, that's not going to make me think any more favorably on the show. But it can add to a good show. I thought this was a perfectly fine, spot-festy, car wreck kind of match for the show. And they did some things I had never seen before, like the double German suplex with the ladder, which I was like, Jesus, don't. I thought that ladder went flying. I'm like, oh my God, Kyle O'Reilly's going to die if that thing had hit him. And overall, I thought it was really good stuff. And actually, the one storyline kind of thing that they did is where Gunner interfered, and everybody from the other teams finally banded together and just beat the shit out of him with the ladder. Maybe it went on a little too long, but when all 6 of them grabbed the ladder and just started smashing him with it, I thought that went really well, and it seemed to get over well with the crowd. That was my favorite kind of character moment story thing throughout the match. But what I really liked was the finish where Montez Ford's Spider-Man jump a la Shelton Benjamin onto the ladder was actually the finish. And, I think back to Shelton Benjamin, and, he would always do these crazy things in ladder matches, but he would never win the ladder match. And Kofi Kingston would always have these amazing Daredevil escapes in the Royal Rumble match, but he'd never win a Rumble match or any Battle Royals at all. He would always do these cool things, but there would never be kind of a payoff to it where he would have an advantage and actually win one of these things. So it was nice to see the Spider-Man jump actually be the finish. It's Montez Ford, in a match with 7 other people in it, 6 of whom don't like him and don't want him to win the tag titles, doing this really crazy Daredevil thing actually gave him the win. So I thought that went really well. And the Street Profits winning was a nice surprise. I think if it were up to me, I probably would have just had the War Raiders drop the belts, but, if you're going to vacate the titles, I probably would have just done a mini tournament, but, doing the multi-person ladder match, it was actually a good way to get some of these guys on a TakeOver, because believe it or not, the Street Profits are hardly ever on TakeOver, even though they seem to be really over on NXT, they hardly ever get onto a TakeOver card. I think this is, the second time that they've been on a TakeOver? Maybe the first. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. But they're hardly ever on. Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan, unless it's a tag title match that they're feuding with the champions at that particular point in time, they're not going to get on the TakeOver card. The Forgotten Sons, I think this might be their first or second. I mean, Wesley Blake had been on there long before when he was tagged with Buddy Murphy and Alexa Bliss, but It's nice to see these guys get a spot on a takeover when they normally wouldn't get one. And I thought the match was fun for what it was. Not like a match of the year contender for me or anything like that. But as far as a car wreck, spot festy match goes, I thought it was fun. Perfectly enjoyable, and I did pop for the Street Profits winning. I thought that was pretty cool. Next up was Velveteen Dream versus Tyler Breeze for the NXT North American Championship. Really nice to have Tyler Breeze back. I was a little disappointed that, he's cut his hair and he's not wearing the poofy boots anymore, so he doesn't quite look like Tyler Breeze. Not like a complete package of Tyler Breeze, but still, it's nice to see him back on an NXT TakeOver and motivated again to have a really good match. And I thought these two had a really good match. I thought it was a nice, solid match. A little clunky in spots, but overall I thought it was pretty good. And it was just fun to see these two characters that I've been invested in Tyler for years, and Velveteen Dream I think plays his character to the hilt and deserves a lot of credit for that. I thought it was a really fun character clash type of match, where the last one was like a spot festy car wreck. This one was all about just the characters bouncing off of each other and interacting, and Tyler seemed motivated to have a really strong performance after doing practically nothing on the main roster. So good match. Velveteen Dream gets the win. Good solid stuff. Enjoyed it. Then we got Shayna Baszler versus Io Shirai for the NXT Women's title. I thought the match was good. I thought it was going really well. Shayna got the win, which kind of left me feeling a little flat. I'm like, I was kind of ready for a title change there. And then the post-match happened where Io beat the crap out of her. It's like, but she beat you fair and square. It just makes you look like an asshole. It's like the Hulk Hogan Royal Rumble 92 thing. It's like, yeah, but he followed the rules. You didn't lose through cheating, so it just makes you look like an asshole. That's just my take anyway. But yeah, it was a good, solid match for what it was. I thought it was probably the weakest match on the show, which is not, that's not necessarily a knock, because, 5 matches on the show, and I thought all of them were really good, at least. So, good, solid match. A little disappointed that there wasn't a title change, but overall it was good, solid stuff. And then we had the main event, Adam Cole versus Johnny Gargano for the NXT Championship. Regular 1 fall match instead of the 2 out of 3 falls match they had WrestleMania weekend. That might seem like a step down, but I did like, if you're going to go with no gimmick here, I do like that they at least kind of reference that Adam Cole won the first fall, so in a 1 fall scenario, he's going to have an advantage. So they at least made it a little bit more meaningful storyline-wise to not have a gimmick. And, downgrade from a 2 out of 3 falls match to a regular match, regular 1 fall match. And, I think I like this match more than the WrestleMania weekend one. I kind of knocked that match for being a little too much into the realm of being like John Cena-y ridiculous stuff. And it happened a little bit here. When Johnny got super kicked on a suicide dive, then got hit with a flip pile driver outside the ring, and he's still kicked out. I was like, oh, come on. I cannot believe I live in an age where the Panama Sunrise, Canadian Destroyer, Mexican Destroyer, whatever you want to call it, where that move, which was death. In the mid-2000s, that move was death. And now it's like a mid-match kick out. And I'm just like, all right. That's the world we live in now. But I don't think it ventured into the ridiculous territory, at least not to the degree that their last match did. The last match was John Cena levels ridiculous. This match was kind of indie match level ridiculous, where, there are levels of how ridiculous kickouts can be. But overall, I thought it was a very action-packed, very exciting match, especially towards the end. And I thought the stuff they did with the ref bump was actually pretty effective and pretty well done. And I was glad to see Adam Cole win, because for me, Johnny is just not working as champion. And it's not his fault. It's the fact that they mishandled his character so poorly. And I don't know how much Ciampa's injury had to do with this, but Johnny basically turned heel and attacked Aleister Black. And then he became a face again, but without any kind of redemption. And they really mishandled his character arc there. And Johnny has never quite recovered from that, in my opinion. And again, I don't know how much Ciampa's injury played into that and caused that to happen, but I think the best way to fix Johnny is to kind of keep him away from the title and to try and get him back to where he was and see if they can fix him. And I think Adam Cole, with the Undisputed Era backing him, I think is a much better choice for champion at this point. So, very exciting main event, very good. I'd say match of the night, to be perfectly honest. Very good stuff. And yeah, very exciting end of the show, and you get to see the Undisputed Era hold up Adam Cole, Bebe, with the new title belt, with his new title belt, to close out the show. I thought was really good, and overall, again, I thought NXT TakeOver 25 was very, very good, very exciting, action-packed show from start to finish, very good stuff, and very enjoyable, and it's nice to see WWE, in some capacity, can deliver a great show. It's just a shame that it happens only on the network and only on NXT, it seems. But, yeah, I thought this TakeOver was better than the last couple that they've done. I really, really like the show. And it's so nice to get another great show right after Double or Nothing, which was a show that knocked my socks off. And then I get this other show that knocked my socks off. So it's good to have good wrestling. I like having good wrestling. It makes me happy to have good wrestling that makes me excited and makes me glad that I actually waste my time, or not waste my time, but, you know, like, spend my time actually watching this stuff. And it's nice to feel good about it. And, you know, as long as NXT's around, WWE will always have at least something that I can enjoy from their product. Well, that and all the old stuff on the network that I enjoy watching. But, yeah, that concludes my review of NXT TakeOver, so thank you all for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment down below, hit the little bell so you get notified when I post new videos, but that's all I have for you here. Like I said, my big movie review video is coming tomorrow. I'm actually going to film it right after I get done here, but you will all most likely see it sometime tomorrow, maybe Tuesday. I don't know. I haven't decided yet, but in any case, thank you all for watching. Hopefully you all have a good week, and I will see you all later.